Q Garage.
Nailed it.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back.
Good morning, guys. And welcome back to another Tesla Talk Tuesday. And today we are going to talk about Tesla, just like last Tuesday. Anyways, quick recap. So last Tuesday, Tesla obviously had earnings. Or not last Tuesday, last Wednesday they had earnings. Last Tuesday I talked about it. So they did have another profitable quarter, so that is awesome. I believe they beat on revenue, missed slightly on EPS estimates, but either way they were still profitable, so that's always good news. Unfortunately, they announced that their CFO was going to be resigning, and that caused the stock to trade down, but then it was basically flat on the day, so not too much movement because of that. However, there was some other interesting news that unfolded shortly. That's my cue to get out of here. So let's get out of the garage. All right, guys, so the first piece of fresh news on Tesla is that yesterday they announced acquisition of Maxwell Technologies, I think. This company makes ultra capacitors, and the way these are used is they're used in tandem with batteries, and what they do is they charge really quickly, but they're also great at giving off energy very quickly. So I guess Elon sees the potential use of these ultra capacitors probably in their cars, in battery packs, in home charging systems, anything of that sort. And my thoughts are simply that, well, they can probably use this technology for things like acceleration, just quickly, using that energy in order to accelerate the vehicle. Also fast charging. If the ultra capacitors can charge at a much faster rate, then you can get charge times drastically down. So if you have a combination of battery and ultra capacitor technology, it seems like a win-win to me. I think the problem that Elon had talked about way back in 2013 was battery density or some sort of density, which is the ability, I think, to store a lot more energy in something. However, I'm not an expert on this, so I don't know. I read a little bit about ultra capacitors yesterday, and the big takeaway I got was that faster charging and then faster energy usage. So, Anyways, I think they're buying them in an all-stock deal. So they're using Tesla shares in order to acquire all of the Maxwell Technology shares. And the price was around $285 million. However, that's obviously variable. And it's variable based on what Tesla stock is currently trading at. So if you were to say one share of Tesla for 10 shares of Maxwell or whatever, well, whatever one share of Tesla is worth at the time in the market is going to kind of determine what the Maxwell shareholders actually end up getting. So that's variable. You can obviously do these acquisitions in all stock, all cash, or a combination of cash and stock. So this just happens to be an all stock deal, which makes sense because Tesla is trying to keep cash on hand to keep investors happy in case they have to pay off these outstanding debts on bonds they've issued, basically outstanding debt that they have on the company. I think on March 1st, there's $900 and some million coming due. So if those bondholders ultimately decide that they want to get repaid in cash, Tesla wants to make sure they have that on hand. So I think that obviously this all stock deal is clearly the right move. Second piece of news, just real quick, this is actually more my own news. That Tesla in my garage, it might be gone. I saw an S550 in the spot, so I'm wondering if that Tesla was a loaner car, which would be quite interesting because, well, most people that have gas cars aren't taking a Tesla loaner car, especially when you may not be sure, used to the whole charging infrastructure and day-to-day ways of having an electric vehicle versus an all-gas vehicle. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. But we'll see. We'll see. More to come. Another update on Tesla. So recently I talked about how they were getting rid of the referral program, which obviously ended on February 1st. So I no longer am posting my referral link in the comments because, well, there's no point. I can't win a Tesla Roadster. Anywho, so they stopped production of their 75 kilowatt hour battery packs on the Tesla Model X and X, which also lent itself to the reason they cut 7% of their workforce. It was mainly on the Tesla Model S and X production lines, which they were discontinuing to streamline production and cut some costs. But what's interesting is that if you go to their website now and you go and you get a 100D standard battery pack, I think it's like roughly 310 miles of range. And then what you can do is you can pay $8,000 to unlock an extra 8% of the battery capacity to get a total of like 335 miles of range. I think that's what it was. So this seems a little absurd to me. If you're buying a 100D, oh, well, the benefit is that they brought prices down a little bit. So when they first made this change, I was looking at the 100Ds, and I don't remember if they had removed 75s at the time, but getting a 100D was basically $100,000. It was like 96,000, 94,000, 95,000, somewhere in there. And then on top of that, you have taxes and any sort of upgrades like autopilot and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, you're paying $100,000 for a Model S. So what's interesting is Tesla actually did this once before. When they first started selling their Model S, I think they had like a 40 that didn't sell well and they ended up discontinuing it. But the more well-known and car that is still out there that you can probably find used is their Model S 60, the 60 kilowatt version. Now this was actually, I believe, a 70 kilowatt battery pack that they just software limited the range on and called it a 60. And the reason I think that's the case is when there was that hurricane coming, people in Florida that had the Model S 60, I'm pretty sure that they actually, Elon tweeted out, or Tesla did, that they were unlimiting the software so that you could get the full like 70 kilowatt range on the car in order to be able to drive out of Florida and get away from the hurricane. So that's nice that they did that, and it's definitely interesting that they're using this like software limitation to have better margins on their cars. But at the same time, I mean, at least you're getting over 300 miles, but you know, you're getting software limit. You have to pay $8,000. Luckily, you're getting still the 310 miles of range. It's not like they're limiting it to like 250 miles, so I don't think it's that big a deal. Personally, I don't know if I would pay $8,000 just for an extra like 15 or 25 miles, an extra 25 miles. It just doesn't really seem worth it to me. $8,000 is a lot, and I'd rather just pay for the autopilot hardware and all that other jazz. So that's definitely a interesting update that they're doing, but I understand it. You know, they're trying to improve margins, streamline the whole production process, make everything more efficient, more profitable. So it makes sense. It makes sense. You can't blame them. They're a for-profit company. They're public. They got to make sure investors are happy, and well, you know, they're trying to push along EV vehicles. So I'm fine with it. Ugh. Please like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. All right. So one final thing to note on this absolutely gorgeous Tesla Talk Tuesday. Well, it's 65 degrees outside, but that's not what I'm noting. The thing that I would like to note is the fact that Tesla actually recently announced that Volkswagen will be purchasing some of the Tesla battery packs to install. So they have this like electrify the USA, electrify the US like kind of initiative, which is, you know, pushing for more fully electric vehicle production. And then on top of that, it's also adding like a charging network, kind of like the Tesla superchargers. But as part of that initiative, they are putting Tesla battery packs in at least 100 different like charging locations, which is pretty cool. So it's always nice to see that other large car manufacturers are, pushing for electric cars as well and helping to build out the charging network. So benefits everybody, not just Teslas. And it's cool to see that they're using Tesla's battery pack. So we'll see how that goes and what comes from that. All right, guys, ready? Just the acceleration on this car. I mean, it never gets old. You just throw them back and hope there's no cops around. You got to keep it under the speed limit. It's hard to do when you're just constantly accelerating, but yeah, you know how it is. Just a quick woo-wee. Gets you every time. It's too much fun, guys. It's too much fun. You got to get a Tesla if you don't have a Tesla. Anyways, that's going to conclude our Tesla Talk Tuesday. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next week. Well, until next week for another Tesla Talk Tuesday, there will be more vlogs in between. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.